Hi, I'm Lynne with Softsquares. It's Maker's Monday and we're going to make this quilt that's behind us. Maker's Monday happens every Monday where I put out a video on a project I'm working on. I might also go over a tip or a trick or even a notion. So it could be anything, but it's a specific topic. On Saturdays, I do the Saturday stitch-uation where I go over a lot of things going on. And so be sure to check back on both of those days, Mondays and Saturdays. But today, being that it's Monday, we're going to work on a project. This project, I'm calling it Topsey-Turvey. Because they're just tumbling blocks and it's just one block. It's this alternating directions, so you can make it as big as you want. You just have to decide how big you want it to be. Mine happens to be 5 rows or 5 across by 6 down, so I have 30 blocks. This is layer cake friendly. So layer cake has 40 to 42. You can easily make it 6 by 6 or 5 by 7 without having to cut into any additional fabric. You can make that stretch. So let me show you how this works. You're going to need 1 of these and 2 of these, and you're going to put them together like that. So this is an 8.5 by 6.5 inch block, and these are 1.5 by 8.5 inch strips. And when you put it together, a finished block will be 8 by 8. Okay, so this is how you cut it from a layer cake. You obviously need at least 2 colors. You could even mix up the sides. Okay, so this is a 10-inch layer cake. First thing we're going to do is cut this across at the 8.5. Now look at that, that's 1.5 inches. Oh, we might have even more. Okay, well, we need 1.5 inches. We also need another one cut off, but I like to have large scraps. So instead of having a scrap, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to come over here and take 1.5 inches off of this side. So we have that second strip. And then I'm going to shorten. I've got different directions going on. Okay, so that may or may not be the way you want to go. If you don't care about the direction or it doesn't matter, this works. Then you have a nice big block. And right now it's actually 8.5 by 8.5, but we are going to change that. We need to cut this down to 6.5 wide, which puts us right here. And see, to me, that's a bigger scrap. That's more useful than this one was. So this will go off to the side. This will get trimmed down. Little block. And then when you mix up your blocks, you have this and this. Problem is my print was directional in the brown. So if it doesn't matter, like in the case with switching it up, like reversing it, this print doesn't have a direction. So however you want to cut into it, that's just how I would do it. Okay, so you need 2 of these and 1 of these. And this is my scrap, the way I cut it. Otherwise you would cut 1.5 inches into this and have a small skinny strip, and then that one long 1.5 inch strip that I started out with. So that is how you make your block. Now let's sew it together. I've already got a bunch of blocks that I'm using with this fabric. This is a Dell and Fall. So I'm going to make 1 more block of this from this line, and then I'm going to assemble it on the wall and let you watch how it comes together. voila, there is our block. So now let's measure it. Comes in 8.5 by 8.5. By the time you sew it in, it's finishing at 8 inches. Okay, so there's only one block, but we are going to just turn them. Every other one, and that's it. Finish it off right there, or put borders on it. So super easy. You can use yardage. Like I said, layer cake works. I cut mine from fat quarters. All right, so we're going to sew everything together. You can mix and match this any way you want. The fabric line that I'm using is Adele in Fall, and I have the full layer cake, the big fat one. And I used a lot of it for another project, a little fox quilt that I cut out the pieces for my granddaughter. And this is what I had left that I'm using here, which happened to be mostly the light colors. And I really like that because it just will have a hint of a color going around it. Now, I do have a lot of yardage from this line. So my goal is, after I get it all assembled, to put a good sized border on there and then the backing. So let's build the blocks and see what happens. All right, I've got everything sewn together. It measures at 48.5 by 40.5, and now it's time to pick out borders. I do have yardage. I have 5 yards of this one and 5 yards of this one. They're both from the line. I also have 3 yards of a 108 of this. And I think I will use this for the back, or at least not cut into it today. So let's see how these work. I'm thinking of this. And maybe it needs to be broken up and have the brown on the front. Let's see. If possible, I'd like to try to see what it's going to look like, if it can be done. All right, and then here's the brown around it. And maybe I should do a small brown and a big orange. Small brown and a big orange. That's actually, I think I like that. And then I will use whatever my inner border is on the binding. This is what's going on the back side of this quilt. Look how cool. Today's pattern is inspired by the Scrappy Rectangles pattern, which is from allpeoplequilt.com, which is the same as American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. It was a free pattern for me because I am a subscriber, so I don't know if you can get to it or not, but that's the website you can go to. All I'm doing though is using the block. I'm not following the pattern, so we don't really need it. But if you want this pattern because you like the way it looks or need a little more information, I thought I'd let you know where you can get it. So it's allpeoplequilt.com. It's called Scrappy Rectangles. And what they have done is they have done the block that we're doing, plus some squares and rectangles going around the border, as well as an inner border. And it is a little more complicated because of all the different sizes of squares and rectangles going around the outside. So if you want to do a solid border, just follow me. It is done. Here you go. It is 58 by 66, so it's a good size throw. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Come back next week. Hope to see you soon. Bye.